Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is David. Today we're going to make a couple of ornaments using polymer clay, and we're going to give them the name Undersea Ornaments. I hope you enjoy. First we're going to start off with two glass balls. Take some acetone nail polish remover and pour a tiny bit in, maybe about a half a teaspoon. The paints I'm using are metallic acrylic colors. And I think the name is Ibier. I'm not sure how to say it. I tried to find the pronunciation on Google and could not find it. And the reason we're going to use the nail polish remover is I'm not sure if water would dilute it enough to make it runny. It's a pretty thick paint. My hope is that it's enough to make it diluted to paint the insides of the balls, and then the acetone will naturally evaporate and leave your paint layered on the glass. You're going to see three balls here, but pay no attention to that third one on the brown pill bottle because I'm not using it. When we get finished with the video, it's going off for something else. So. An eyedropper will be really good for this paint because you kind of need to drop it straight down into the acetone instead of down the side like I did. And I used a barbecue skewer to push it down in there, and then I just covered the end and shook it really hard, and it did the best that way. After you get your balls coated really well, they don't have to be perfectly coated. If you leave some naked spaces, it's fine because it's going to look three-dimensional, as if you could look through those holes and see more fish and seaweed behind that. After this, we're going to move to the polymer clay. Wash your balls really well with some alcohol. I found a color wheel, free printable, and printed it, and I keep it on my desk so that I can match colors, kind of. Pull out your polymer clay. Colors does not matter for the base because we're going to paint them over anyway. I just found the ugliest color I could find. I'm going to use it up in these molds. We're going to mold out some fish and turtles and shells. These molds work really well. You can bake in the molds, but I have found that I don't like pre-baking them. If you were going to put it on something flat, it would be fine. You'll see at the end, I'm going to do one of them with some pre-baked starfishes and stuff, and you'll see it doesn't work as well. I don't know what the technical term is, but I'm going to use the term wet for something that's not baked and dry for something that is baked. I find that it's better to put it on wet because it will actually mold to the curvature of the bauble. Unlike the baked, which is kind of stiff. And I'm going to pop one up in a second close so that you can see how I fill the mold. In order to get all the spots, you want to start in the middle and push it down in the middle. The only bad thing about these molds is when you push it into it, it doesn't stick to it because, you know, it's made to let go. So, and I'll keep pushing out from the middle. And then when I add more, it'll be to the middle. Because I have a harder time putting it in and cutting off the excess. And usually once I get one kind of full, I'll pick it up and look down to see if I can see the clay at the edge of it without making it come out. If I overfill it, I'll take one of those flat blades and go across it, which isn't a good idea because you've got a chance of cutting that mold. Take the stylus and roll it down. Make sure those 3 different balls have joined together really well. And then just stick it down to the tile and peel it back. Now I took some and I baked them on the tile, and then I put them in here and I painted them and put them to the side. I'm going to use them in a little while when we get to the second ball. If you have a lot of scrap clay where you've got little tiny bits of this and little tiny bits of that, just keep sticking them together. If you look at that starfish really closely, you'll see there's 3 or 4 different colors in it. And that works really well for those fish because you'll find them with a bunch of different colors in them. I'm picking out greens for my seaweed, sand and dirt. That's a sandy color. It looks more yellow on video, but it was a sandy color in person. And a brown. I'm going to start on the bottom. We're going to use Gorilla Super Glue Gel. And I'm going to roll back the edges and put a little of that down with a skewer. I find I get better usage by opening the bottle and just sticking the skewer in, getting some out and spreading it with that rather than trying to squeeze it out of the bottle. I don't have luck with the bottles. And then press it back down. Take your stylus and roll the different colors together so that they blend enough to secure to each other. If you don't glue this, it will come loose because it's on the bottom of the bauble and not the top. You won't have to glue your seaweed because your seaweed, some of it goes up over the top of the bauble, so it kind of locks it in place once it's baked and cured. So it'll all be attached. And just make haphazard lines and then take your pokey tool and press sideways lines or draw it down the middle and make stems. Just whatever you think looks good. And I've got one half of it done. I'm going to go ahead and bake it. And then we're going to come back the next day after it's cured, and we're going to do the other side. And because some of that's baked already, you're going to have to take a little bit of that gel super glue and glue it in a couple spots. And especially your fish and your starfish, your shells, put a little super glue on the back of those to put them down, especially if you've already baked it. If you haven't baked it, you can keep going and it will attach. They make a polymer clay, liquid clay, and you can use it to attach it, but I don't even fool with it. It works okay. Nothing special about it. I'm making some little rounded leaves with a stylus here. Cut them out and I'm spinning it around my hand, making it thin out in places, kind of like leaves. Then I'm going to come in and put some lines. And just do them all different. Some of them's going to be shaped with lines sideways. Some of them's going to be crisscross. Some of them's going to be straight up and down. Whatever you think looks good. They don't have to be straight. They're underwater. You know they're swaying back and forth. Some of them I twist as I put them up. I'll start them at the bottom flat and twist them as I go up. I do have a camera coming, so hopefully it'll show better videos than these on this phone. And I'm going to cover this cap with some clay. The first one I made, I painted. This one I'm going to cover with clay, and then the next one I'm going to paint. I'm going to do 2 of these tonight. I've already got one done. And of course, I'm off camera. And then he's going in to bake, and we're going to start on our next one. On this one, we're going to do the same thing, only I'm going to use those pre-baked underwater animals and shells, and they're not going to seal down as easily because the tips won't flatten down after you've baked it. After I did it, I found I really didn't like doing it that way. I like it when the shells and stuff bends around the bauble. It looks better. And this one I'm going to do complete. I'm not even going to bake it till I'm done. And the seaweed goes up far enough that it's going to catch. It's going to hold it in place. I did put some glue on the bottom, but that was it. And I'm going to glue all these baked. These are pre-baked. I've already baked them. I did these a couple weeks ago. And now we're going to paint it. And we're going to use that same metallic paint. I'm trying this up here on this ball of twine. It doesn't work as good. You see those ends sticking up? Yeah, I don't like that. I'm going to pull this out with a little bit of on a pool noodle. Lord have mercy, on a pouncer, and I'm going to pull it out with a barbecue skewer and just put it on. I don't want to mess the pouncer up too much. I don't want to pour paint out and waste paint. Costs too much money. Now you'll notice that I don't wipe all that paint off. I take the paper towel and I'll kind of dry off the pouncer a little bit, but that's it. I'm not going to try to take the paint away. Because when I add my next color, I'm going to do the same thing and just pounce it, even with the colors already on it. And the effect you're going to get is like, how do I explain it? You get multiple colors. Like if you took water and sprayed it out of a garden hose in the sunlight, and you get a little arc of colors like that. And you'll see several colors through the same, in the same space. And every time you add a paint, it's going to give you deeper dimension. They don't show up well here on tape or video or whatever it is. On my last color, it's going to be the light green for the seaweed and stuff, and I'm going to pounce everything with it. And you're not painting it to make it a different color. You're painting it to get the. I don't know how to explain this paint. It's not like a paint paint. You can see the metallic. You can see the color, some of it, but you can't. It's not like it gives it full coverage. It will when it's wet, but when it's dry, you can see through it. It reminds me of if you find a rock that has that mica on it. And for my last paint, I'm just going to pour down on the parchment paper. And then I'm just going to pounce the whole thing. Grass, bottle, or bauble. Even some of the little sea animals. I'll go across it with a light coating of that. Now, on my first one I did 2 months ago, I sprayed this thing with, is this the right one? No. This is one of the ones I just did. I'll pull the other one out in a minute. The one I did 2 months ago, I sprayed with a gloss polyurethane. No, that's not it either. I put a pearl on it so I'll know when we see it. Yeah, this is Mod Podge, Gloss Mod Podge. And this is what we're going to paint them with. Because I found that that other is still tacky after 2 months. I'm going to show you in just a minute with a piece of thread. And that's the one because I burned it. I painted it black where I burned it. There's the pearl. And see, you can't tell it's black underneath that pearl, but that's where I burned it and put the pearl on it. Put the metallic on it and then the pearl. And it's sticky. Watch the thread. And when you pull it, it didn't even drop off. And that's 2 months after curing, and I just didn't like that. So I go over this with Mod Podge, Glossy Mod Podge, and it did cure within 2 hours. And I was quite happy with it. So I painted the other two with Mod Podge. I found that if you shake the bottle, it gives you bubbles. And when you paint it on it, those bubbles kind of show up after they dry in certain places. So it looks like underwater bubbles. Now, if you didn't want those bubbles, don't shake it up. I did it both ways to see how it looked, and I'll show you at the end. Here's one. And there's one. And then there's the original one. If you look really carefully, you can catch the bubbles reflecting the light. I hope you enjoyed this video.